Hey, welcome to the channel. So, just got back from 2 weeks in China, and I just kind of want to talk through everything, my opinions, the cars, the EVs, the transportation, just kind of run down. Got a lot of pictures to show, a lot of different vehicles to talk about. So, yeah, let's talk about that stuff. China. I got there. I went for a 2-week trip for work, and I got there and visited several different areas of China, as far south as Wenzhou, and all the way up north up into Weihai, and so about 6 hours north and south of Shanghai. So and as far east as I got, I think was in the Shenzhou area, not too far to the west. It was mostly on the east side, north and south of the country. I saw a lot of EVs. Some areas have more than others. As you can see, there's a lot of different ones. Most of them were Chinese-made EVs. There was a lot of Teslas. There were every now and then your Volkswagen ID4s. There was every now and then, some other versions. And then there were some makes that are, Japanese. Were very few Japanese cars there, but some other makes that were EVs that we don't have here in the US that are made by companies that have EVs here in the US. So that was interesting as well, such as, like, for example, the Volkswagen ID3 was there. I saw quite a few of those. But mostly Chinese electric vehicles. If they weren't electric, fully battery electric vehicles, then most of them were hybrids. You actually can see they have a green license plate on anything that has battery electric. The only way you can actually get that plate is if you drive an EV. So that seems to be kind of an incentive for a lot of people there. Otherwise, you can't get that, and you got to pay a lot of money and different things like that. They do get a percentage off of the car when they buy it as an incentive, kind of like we did the $7,500 tax credit. They do something similar there. You get a discount for buying an electric vehicle. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then I rode in some that were like the Huawei. I might be saying that completely wrong. I might be saying a lot of these names wrong. They were the cell phone company that we had making competitive phones here in the US for a very short time. There was some videos by MKHB on the company as far as the tech and the cell phones, and they US banned them. So their cars, they make cars as well. Actually went into a store, so in Shanghai, when I was there at the very end of my trip, for a day free, for the first day free out of 2 weeks. There was a Apple store in Shanghai. There was a Huawei store across the street from it, very similar to an Apple store, except for they had cars inside of it, a lot of cars. And then also a Samsung store, all three of them right there in a quarter. So the world's producers of smartphones, basically, and a lot of tech and computers and different things. Huawei is the only one that does the cars. And I got to ride in one quite often, the Alto or whatever it is, Aeto. Anyways, self-driving, very comfortable, very luxurious, screens all across the front. I got to ride in this car quite a bit because I knew the person driving it, and they would use the self-driving portion. Funny enough, they actually fell asleep one day driving us to lunch. Probably rode for 15-20 minutes with him asleep and us not realizing it at first, and then we realized he was asleep, and there was a pretty sketchy moment, but the car drove really well. And if you've ever been to China, they drive a lot differently than we do here in the US. I'd say much more chaotic, much more defensive and offensive driving. A lot more of just go for it, going different lanes, all kinds of things, but then also people just pulling out in front of you, and your car has to react. And the car drove by itself just fine every single time, and he drove with it I don't know, probably like 8 times while I was there. So I was highly impressed. I don't think my Tesla could do that well. And I might get some hate on that, but I do not think that my Tesla could drive as well as that Huawei did, self-driving in China. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Anyways, um, so as you can see, the car was driving by itself, doing really well. It's very luxurious. Got to ride. Actually, took us to the airport at the end of the trip and put it in basically like the VIP mode, where the seat and the front seat on the passenger side was laid down. It has a little pad for you to put your feet, so when you're riding in the back seat, you can actually just relax. And what he said was the reason why that feature was in the car was because it was expected to be full self-driving, and you would be able to sit in the back of the car and lounge while the car drove you to your destination, which is pretty cool, I think. And so saw a lot of other different cars, rode in a bunch of like high-end taxis as well while we were there. So those were often Geelys. I would have to say there was a lot of Geelys. There's a wagon version, there's car versions, very nice, very luxurious, very comfortable, very quiet. There was BYD, of course, which honestly seems to be kind of more like the Chevrolet in China, right? Not the most luxurious. There are some luxurious models, but most of them are just like your normal, Altima, right? But they're electric. They're all electric. If they're not electric, they're hybrid typically. There was some gas ones driving around. Driving around about 80%, I would say 60 to 80%, depending on which city you're in. But the cities I spent most time in, it was probably about 80% were electrified of some sort. Most of them being fully battery electric vehicles, and they were everywhere. And then you got a lot of scooters riding around, and those are also electric scooters. So there was a couple of times where we were walking around at nighttime, and there's all these cars driving by, and it's completely quiet. It's completely quiet except for like horns. No gasoline sounds hardly at all. And it was really peaceful. I've always wondered, like, when we get to this spot where the electric cars have taken the majority of the road, how quiet will it be? And we got to see that, and I really loved it. I thought it was amazing. Um, some other cars. There was this Lee Motors. I got to actually go see a showroom and take a look at one of those cars. Also very luxurious. There was a lot of those driving around. You can tell they were one of the nicer cars in China. I don't know prices and things like that. There was some other ones. Got to look at some of the newer BYDs here. Got to ride in some other ones like the Red Flag of China vehicle. There's just so many different brands over there for electric vehicles. Um, if I had to pick one that I like more than anything, I would probably go with, I really like the Geelys. The Huawei's were really nice. Like looking at this, if you go to this, where we were at the Huawei store, right? There was this really nice sporty sedan Huawei. There's several versions of SUVs, so they go really small, all the way down to, probably smaller than a Model Y. Very luxurious, very nice. And then they went all the way up into the 9 Series, which is what I rode in very often. Very large, 3 rows. Just a very nice vehicle, very luxurious. There was also, what other brands were there? There was Geely, Huawei, Lee Motors. Some of the other vehicles also that I missed that I was talking about, there was Xpeng. Those were really nice. Typically, they're SUV versions, sedan versions, wagon versions were really cool as well. There was also one called Leap Motors. Those look really, really nice. Leap Motors, I believe, is also owned by Huawei. It was in the Huawei store as well. So you had like the Alto version, but then you had Leap Motors also there. I'm not really sure the information between that, if it's just like a subsidiary of the vehicle, or if it's a certain type of model of the vehicle, of the brand. But those were really nice as well. Those are very much Chinese vehicles. Um, so I mean, the short story here is, um, in China right now, they are all in on electric. It's very clear. Um, in the last just few years, they have substantially increased their electric cars on the road. There's solar everywhere. There's windmills everywhere. There's still some smog. There's nuclear everywhere. I mean, everywhere there's nuclear. In the middle of cities, there's nuclear. Um, there's all this carbon free energy sources all over the place, and carbon free transportation. So you've got electric high speed trains, there's electric buses, electric mopeds, electric cars, electric trucks. There were some pretty cool off-roady style trucks that were built in China as well, Chinese companies that were pretty cool. I don't think those were electric, but they were pretty cool. Um, and then, there was a handful of American cars, very small amount, like uh, Jeeps and stuff like that, very rare. We also made a trip into South Korea. There was not as many electric cars there, but there was still a lot of electric cars and hybrids. So I'd say it's more similar to what the U.S. is as far as the ratio. Um, but China is all in, buddy. I'm telling you, they are doing everything they can to incentivize their citizens to transition. Their citizens don't have a care about driving gasoline or electric. They will drive whatever is available and what's better. I didn't really get this vibe that there was this hate against EVs like there is here in the US. I think that's mostly because the government probably controls a lot of what the people get, and you don't have all this like fossil fuel money being spent to badmouth a better technology like we do here in the States. There's a lot of things I don't like about China, don't get me wrong, but there are three things I did like. I liked their high-speed rail a lot. Why don't we do that? I don't know. It was probably one of the greatest ways I've ever been transported across long distances. It was super comfortable, super smooth, super easy, super cheap. uh, Amazing. Please, America, let's do that. I mean, Amtrak sucks. All of their high-speed rail is up in the air. There's no crosswalks. There's no risk of wrecking. Uh, it's in the air, and they're everywhere. Uh, Electric cars, they're killing it. They're doing such a good job with electric cars. Their cars are really good, which is surprising to me. And then their um, their grid system is really improving. Um, Other than that, I'm not a super huge fan of the country. Don't care too much for a lot of things. So we'll leave it at that. But I did want to show everybody kind of some of these cars that are there. Just, a lot of pictures that I'm showing you, and just to kind of see what we're missing out on here in the U.S. Like we are really missing out on technology that is the next generation of technology, and we're just letting it slip through. They are going to take the lead in this new technology that's going to change the world. It's going to happen no matter what you like. It's going to happen because it is the better technology. And we're going to fail. We're not going to get it, and we're not going to use it, and we're not going to make money on it, as much money as we could. We're going to be behind. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was kind of entertaining getting to see some of these cars that are out there and how far behind we kind of already are in electric vehicles. and definitely how far we are going to be, seeing at the rate of increase of pace that they're doing with EVs and the future of transportation versus the US, where we're kind of like going backwards. We're literally going backwards, and they're going forward, 4 steps at a time, and we're backing up. And and I don't necessarily say you have to go forward 4 steps at a time, but I do think 2025 we should be where they are. I thought we would be where they are as far as electric vehicles, at least. And so, it's sad, but it was cool to go see what I had hoped to see here in the U.S. by now. And yeah, they're gonna win in that race. I just don't see any way that we recover. We've already kind of shot ourselves in the foot in that manner. And so, yeah, I mean, we need to improve our infrastructure for all the charging. Clearly, China has no issue with their infrastructure. They don't have good electric grids and things like that, and yet they can charge 80% of their huge populations EVs, and then the ones that aren't driving EVs, they're driving the little scooters, and they're all electric. They're charging them every night. So if they can handle that with a subpar electrical grid, there's no reason we can't. So and that point's been mute. There's been so many studies and research done to show that the grid is completely capable today. Today, the grid is capable of having at least 80% of the vehicles being electric. So, that's that argument's just not true. If you hear anybody say that, they either don't know what the hell they're talking about, or they have an agenda to push back against, because they're somehow getting financially benefiting through fossil fuels of some sort. 9 times out of 10, it's people that just don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know the facts. They don't know. They're just listening to someone else tell them what to say. Just frustrating how farther they are than we are, and that's where we should be today. It's disappointing. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll talk to you on the next one. Enjoy. We'll make some more videos. Obviously, I'm a little slow coming out with videos. Check out my TikTok. I do come out with videos a little bit more often on my TikTok because they're shorter, they're faster. Hope you enjoyed it. This is just for beneficial to you guys. It's a hobby of mine, so hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe so you can see when I come out with more content, and it helps the channel grow and helps other people get to see it. It's free to you, and we'll see you guys on the next one.